On March 18, 2018, an autonomous Uber Volvo traveling at 39 miles per hour detected a pedestrian in the darkness 6 seconds before impact, but struck and killed her anyway, because engineers had deliberately disabled the emergency brakes to prevent a jerky ride. When the Silicon Valley mantra of move fast and break things is applied to 2-ton autonomous machines, who exactly pays the price when the system breaks? 14,000 stolen blueprints, a $680 million illicit buyout, and 1 second of deleted code that turned a corporate race into a lethal disaster. Today, autonomous test vehicles drive past the intersection of Mill Avenue and Curry Road in Tempe without a human hand on the wheel. The wreckage is gone, the legal settlements are signed behind non-disclosure agreements, and the billionaire executives involved have moved on to new venture funds. To understand how a routine test drive turned into the world's first pedestrian death by a robot car, you have to go back to a secure floor inside Google's Mountain View headquarters. In 2009, Google launched Project Chauffeur, a secret initiative to build fully autonomous vehicles. At the center of the project was Anthony Levandowski, a brilliant 6'6" engineer who had built a self-driving motorcycle named Ghost Rider in his spare time. Lewandowski was not an academic, he was a builder obsessed with speed. He viewed red tape, state traffic laws, and corporate approval hierarchies as speed bumps designed for lesser minds. Under his leadership, Google's autonomous Priuses logged over 300,000 miles without a single driver-caused crash. Google rewarded him with extraordinary compensation incentive packages tied to performance milestones. Google paid Lewandowski over $120 million in bonuses, but wealth didn't satisfy him, control did. By late 2015, Lewandowski was running private off-grid meetings right under Google's nose. He believed Google was moving too slowly, crippled by lawyers and safety review committees. Across the bay in San Francisco, Uber CEO Travis Kalanick was coming to an identical, terrifying realization. Kalanick realized that if Google launched an autonomous robotaxi service before Uber's entire business model would vanish overnight.
Kalanick called autonomous driving an existential threat, stating, "If they win, we are dead."
On December 11, 2015, Lewandowski made the decision that changed everything. He connected an authorized company laptop to Google's highly restricted internal network. He installed custom search software and downloaded 107 confidential files, 7 gigabytes of proprietary hardware designs, circuit board schematics, and LiDAR laser blueprints. He loaded the data onto an encrypted external memory drive, plugged it into his personal laptop, and formatted the corporate machine to wipe his digital footprints. 1 month later, he walked out of Google and launched a self-driving truck startup called Otto. Kalanick didn't just buy a truck startup, he bought an insider weapon pointed straight at Larry Page. Just 6 months after Otto was formed, and before it had produced a single commercial product, Uber acquired it. Uber paid $680 million. Lewandowski was named head of Uber's entire autonomous vehicle division, Advanced Technologies Group. But Lewandowski didn't just leave Google with his genius. He walked out the door with 14,000 highly classified blueprints, igniting the most vicious corporate war in Silicon Valley history. In late 2016, a supplier accidentally copy-pasted Google's internal LiDAR circuit design onto an email sent to a Waymo engineer. The circuit design was identical to Google's patent down to the nanometer. With Waymo's lawsuits freezing Uber's California permits, Kalanick needed a state where dead test subjects wouldn't stall production. Uber found its sanctuary in Arizona. Governor Doug Ducey signed an executive order removing state oversight, requiring no safety logs, no accident reporting, and no permit fees for testing autonomous cars. Ducey tweeted a photo welcoming Uber's self-driving fleet, boasting that Arizona was open for business, while California was bogged down in regulation. Uber shipped dozens of Volvo XC90 SUVs to Tempe. Inside Uber's software team, chaos reigned. While Waymo's self-driving cars could travel an average of 5,000 miles without human intervention, Uber's vehicles were failing at a shocking rate. Under extreme pressure to beat Google, Uber rushed their flawed AI onto public roads in Arizona, where the system was failing so frequently that human backup drivers had to intervene every 13 miles. The cars jerked violently at shadows, misread traffic lights, and swerved toward curbs. Instead of fixing the core perception algorithms, Uber executives took a fatal shortcut to make the ride feel smoother for investors. The Volvo XC90 comes standard with an advanced automatic emergency braking system, designed by safety company Mobileye. That factory system can detect pedestrians in pitch darkness and trigger emergency stops in milliseconds. But Uber's software engineers found that Volvo's factory safety brake kept fighting with Uber's custom self-driving software. When both systems were active, the car would slam on the brakes unexpectedly because the two computer brains disagreed. Uber's solution was breathtakingly reckless. They disabled Volvo's factory emergency braking system completely. They turned off the manufacturer's safety net and relied entirely on their own unproven software to stop the vehicle in an emergency. To make matters worse, Uber reduced the human monitoring staff inside the car. Originally, every test vehicle carried 2 employees, one sitting behind the wheel watching the road, and a second sitting in the passenger seat monitoring data on a laptop. In late 2017, to cut operating costs and show progress toward a commercial robotaxi fleet, Uber eliminated the second safety operator. A single human backup driver was now expected to monitor both the road and the central diagnostic iPad fixed to the console. 5 days before the fatal accident, Uber's safety manager Robbie Miller sent an urgent 300-word email to top executives.
Miller wrote, "The cars are driving dangerously. Safety incidents are occurring on a near-daily basis. Someone will be killed soon."
Uber management ignored the memo. 5 days later, on Sunday evening, March 18, 2018, vehicle number 04 departed Uber's Tempe testing facility. Behind the wheel was 44-year-old safety driver Rafaela Vasquez. The software was blind, the backup driver was streaming a TV show, and at 9:58 p.m. on a dark road in Tempe, the ultimate cost of moving fast and breaking things was about to be paid in blood. You are walking a bicycle across Mill Avenue at 9:57 p.m. A 2-ton Volvo approaches at 43 mph without slowing down. Elaine Herzberg, a 49-year-old mother walking her bicycle across an unlit 4-lane road, was pushing a bike loaded with shopping bags. She was crossing outside a designated crosswalk, roughly 360 feet south of the Curry Road intersection. The Uber Volvo was traveling southbound at 43 miles per hour in autonomous mode. What followed was a terrifying 5.6-second software breakdown documented frame by federal investigators. At 5.6 seconds before impact, the roof-mounted LiDAR sensor pulsed 1.5 million laser beams per second into the dark. The system registered an unknown object in the road ahead at a distance of 300 feet. In the final seconds before the fatal crash, Uber's AI actually detected Elaine Herzberg but rapidly misclassified her as a false positive, then a vehicle, and finally a bicycle, never recognizing her as a human being until it was too late. Because Uber's engineers had programmed the software to reset its path calculation every time an object was reclassified, the computer kept erasing its memory of where Herzberg was moving. The car did not know whether she was stationary or moving, so it predicted she would stay out of the vehicle's travel lane. At 1.2 seconds before impact, the computer finally realized a collision was imminent. The vehicle was moving at 43 miles per hour. This was the exact moment Volvo's factory system would have slammed on the brakes automatically, bringing the car to a stop feet away from Herzberg. Instead, Uber's custom safety code executed a built-in 1-second suppression delay. Uber engineers had added this 1-second delay into the code to prevent false alarm braking events that might annoy passengers. For 1 full second while traveling 63 feet forward in the dark, the car did nothing. It did not apply the brakes. It did not sound an audible alarm inside the cabin. It did not swerve. Inside the car, backup driver Rafaela Vasquez was looking down at her lap. Police records and Hulu server logs later revealed she had been streaming an episode of the television show The Voice on her phone. During the 43 minutes preceding the crash, Vasquez had looked down away from the road 42 separate times. At 0.2 seconds before impact, Vasquez finally looked up and gasped. She grabbed the steering wheel, but it was too late. The Volvo struck Elaine Herzberg at 39 miles per hour.
She died of her injuries at corporate hospital room hours later.
Uber pulled its entire fleet off American roads within 12 hours, but the state subpoena was already signed. Governor Ducey, who had welcomed Uber with open arms, indefinitely suspended Uber's authority to test autonomous vehicles in Arizona, calling the video footage disturbing and alarming. The federal NTSB launched a multi-year investigation that exposed systemic safety culture failures across Uber's corporate leadership. The board concluded that Uber's inadequate safety risk management directly allowed a dangerous system to hit public streets. While Uber reached an out-of-court settlement with Herzberg's family within 10 days, the criminal and civil fallout was far from over. Backup driver Rafaela Vasquez was charged with negligent homicide. In 2023, she pleaded guilty to endangerment and was sentenced to 3 years of probation. County prosecutors declined to charge Uber as a corporate entity with criminal manslaughter. Meanwhile, Waymo's corporate trade secret trial against Uber exploded in federal court. During testimony, Levandowski repeatedly invoked his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination over 140 times. Under intense pressure from Uber's board, Travis Kalanick fired Levandowski in May 2017 after he refused to cooperate with internal investigations. 4 days into the public trial in February 2018, Uber surrendered. Uber agreed to pay Waymo 0.38% of its equity valued at approximately $245 million and agreed never to use Google's proprietary tech. Federal prosecutors then indicted Levandowski on 33 counts of theft and attempted theft of trade secrets. In March 2020, Levandowski pleaded guilty to 1 count of trade secret theft and filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy after a court ordered him to pay Google $179 million. A federal judge sentenced him to 18 months in prison, calling his actions the biggest trade secret crime in Silicon Valley history. On his final day in office in January 2021, President Donald Trump granted Levandowski a full presidential pardon, wiping away his prison sentence. Uber's autonomous dreams ended in complete surrender. After spending over $2.5 billion attempting to build self-driving technology, Uber shut down its program and sold ATG to startup Aurora Innovation in December 2020. Uber didn't make money on the sale. They had to hand over $400 million in cash to Aurora just to take the division off their hands. Travis Kalanick was forced out as Uber CEO by top investors, led by Benchmark Capital back in June 2017. He cashed out billions in Uber stock and founded Cloud Kitchens, a commercial real estate startup for ghost restaurants. Today, Waymo operates tens of thousands of fully driverless commercial robotaxi rides every week in Phoenix, San Francisco, and Los Angeles without a safety driver behind the wheel. The corporate gamble to steal AI blueprints didn't accelerate Uber into the future, it set them back by a decade. Look back at Mill Avenue. 5 million laser pulses lit up the dark, the car saw her at 300 feet and the software chose not to stop. Anthony Levandowski built the future he always dreamed of, but he built it on stolen blueprints and paid for it with someone else's life. This disaster was not an isolated breakdown. It was a blueprint copied from the high-stakes world of military tech theft, and next week, we uncover the hidden network behind the world's largest semiconductor heist. If you want to understand how autonomous machines and breakthrough technologies are truly shaping the next century, subscribe to Future Explained right now.